I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase.
Okay guys, so we're up under the truck. This is the front end of the truck, driver's side. This is a Hendrickson axle. Most of these axles are made by Hendrickson. One-piece axle. The newer styles are gonna have the kingpins made onto the axle, which creates more stability. Sometimes they're gonna have removable kingpins. But what we're gonna be looking for here is on the leaf springs here. This is the leaf spring. There's one on each side. That's what holds the axle beam onto the truck, and it's connected by hangers that are hanging off the frame of the truck. Now what we're going to be inspecting is the bushings in between that hardware, and if you've ever inspected bushings before, you can tell if there's pieces of bushing missing or if you can see some bare metal. Those are indicators that you have some worn out bushings. It's usually happening on high mileage, or if you have a lot of road grime that's going into those bushings, they can get wore out pretty easy. That's going to cause the truck not to be able to keep staying in its lane. Also tie rod ends, if you have loose tie rod ends.
The suspension on a semi-truck is a three-part system. First, we're going to start with the leaf springs, which help keep the payload off of the axle and help prevent cracking in the frame. Next, we're going to move over to our shock, which helps with any sudden movements up and down. After our shocks, we got our airbags, which help keep the load level and help with comfortability of your ride.
Hey guys, if you have uneven wear on the tires like that on the trailer, here's what you can do. Lift up the axle, see if there is any play. If there is a play, you have to remove the hub and adjust the bearing. Tighten it a little more. Then put everything back, and that should do it. And how to do it, you can check it in our full video.
Okay, one of the first things when you see a tire with irregular wear, just on this side it's irregular, it looks normal here, and on the passenger side it looks regular. It's probably a bad drag link. See that? You shouldn't be able to do that with a drag link.
We're gonna dance this truck because it's wearing out the tires uneven dramatically on the passenger side. Let's see what's the problem. And look at the other side. You can see it's wearing out inside, and because of that, whoo, look at this. This can be these bushings right here, and these bushings cause misalignment on the rear axles, and because of that, you can get your steering to pull to one side. Hello everyone, welcome to Trucking Facts. My name's Randy. I just wanted to point out something to you on my truck. See how my mud flaps are touching the ground? This one is. That means I have an air leak. And check this out. Look at that. My airbags are deflated. Okay? Now let me go up here in the front. Those are the rear airbags on my tractor. These are somewhat inflated. They're not supposed to be like that. See that? Look at that. that means I have an air leak. One of my airbags has a hole in it, or the supply line to my airbags has a leak. So now I'm going to start the truck and show you what it's supposed to look like. So I'm going to pause the video. I'll be right back. See, look at that. I have low air pressure on my dash. So I'm going to let it air up, and I'll be right back and show you what it looks like on the airbags, what it's supposed to look like when it's aired up. I'll be right back. Okay, look at that. My air pressure is built up, and look at the airbag now. It's fully inflated. So that means I either have a leak on my airbag, there's some sort of a hole in my airbag, or like I said, the supply line coming to the airbag has a leak. Regardless, I have a leak somewhere in the system. And look at this mud flap now. See how it's above the ground? It's what it's supposed to look like. So I wanted to do a quick video on that to let you know how you can spot an air leak. And a lot of the times when your bags are deflated like that, your airbags, your air leaks in the airbags, they can get a hole. Really, anything on the road can put a hole in them. And on my Peterbilt, I replaced my airbags like 3 times because of holes in them. So that's a quick video on where your air leak could be, you know, in your airbags. Until next time, be safe.
Okay, so for everybody who has a Freightliner, the airliner suspension, and they're getting that shaking going down the road due to driveline angle. Of course, there are a lot of things that can cause shaking, but in the instance where you have a driveline angle problem and you need to adjust your airbags, there are a lot of videos on YouTube that say to take this leveling rod right here, cut it, and then weld in another rod alongside it, just to gain 3/8 of an inch to a 1/2 an inch on your leveling rod. I did that on the rod that was on here. I didn't have any result really. I did realize that my air leveling valve, which is right here, I'm just now in the process of putting it on, that this arm here where it hooks to the leveling valve was loose, and it was all wallowed out. So, but anyway, back to the point. As I was putting this new leveling valve in here, I noticed that this bolt here, this stud that comes out of the back of the leveling valve, the hole that it goes into closest to the drive shaft is slotted. The rear is not. This one is. And so what that allows is for you to actually move this leveling valve up and down, and that'll move at least 1/2 inch, 5/8 of an inch, which will give you a sufficient amount to raise or lower your suspension, whatever you need to do to get that drive line straight again, and try to get that vibration and the shaking out. A lot of people call it vibration, some people call it shaking. Whatever you want to call it's fine with me. I don't care. But try that before you go taking that leveling rod out and welding on it. Not a big deal, not an expensive part, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. If you can just go in here, loosen up these two 7/16 nuts and adjust it accordingly, and then tighten them back up once you got your suspension where you want it, I think you'll find that's a lot easier. So anyway, this is my first and probably only video, because I'm not good at it. But I've gotten a lot of help here on YouTube, so I thought I'd pass along what little bit I know. Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
What is a wheel seal? Have you ever wondered how trucks and 18-wheelers keep their wheels turning smoothly? One of the unsung heroes in this process is the wheel seal. So, what exactly is a wheel seal? A wheel seal is an essential part of the wheel assembly in trucks and 18-wheelers. Its main job is to keep the lubricant, which is usually grease or oil, inside the wheel hub assembly. This is especially important around the wheel bearings. The wheel seal prevents lubricant from leaking out and stops dirt, water, and other contaminants from getting in. This protection is vital for smooth wheel rotation and helps avoid premature wear or damage to the bearings and other internal parts of the wheel end. you will typically find wheel seals mounted on the hub or the spindle. They are often fitted inside the rotor, just behind the larger inside bearing. Since wheel bearings are always in motion, the wheel seal acts as a dynamic seal. This means it seals between moving parts, like the rotating hub, and stationary parts, such as the spindle or axle housing. Inside the seal, there is a garter spring that helps maintain a tight fit against the moving surface to prevent leaks. In trucks and 18-wheelers, wheel seals are especially important. These vehicles operate under heavy loads and harsh conditions, making proper lubrication and contamination prevention essential for safety and reliability. However, wheel seals can fail for several reasons. One common issue is improper installation. If the seal is installed backward, it can blow out and leak lubricant. Worn or damaged bearings and races can also cause leaks, even if the seal itself is new and properly installed. Additionally, blocked or damaged hubcaps and axle vents can create pressure buildup inside the wheel end, forcing the seal to release its lubricant. When a wheel seal leaks, it can lead to lubricant loss, contamination of the bearings, overheating, and eventual bearing failure. This can result in grinding noises, steering difficulties, or even wheel lockup, which are serious safety concerns for trucks and 18-wheelers. From a maintenance standpoint, it is wise to regularly inspect wheel seals for leaks. If you notice grease or oil around the hub or anti-lock braking system tone ring, it may be time for a replacement. Early detection and replacement of a failing wheel seal can help you avoid costly repairs, such as bearing replacement or differential damage. In summary, a wheel seal is a dynamic sealing component that keeps lubricant within the wheel end and protects wheel bearings from contaminants. This ensures safe and efficient wheel operation under demanding conditions. Proper installation, regular inspection, and timely replacement are essential to maintain the integrity of the wheel assembly and prevent breakdowns.
Mother, I always love her, my mother. So treat her right, treat her right. M is for the moan and the miserable groan from the pain that you felt when I was born. O is for the oven with its burning heat, where she stood making sure I had something to eat. T is for the time that
and here is my trailer tire. It's not good, so the trailer need alignment. Here it's kind of weird. Let's see the big one. Start from here. It's getting weird.
So the next thing we're gonna check is the front brake shoes and drum. This is the same inspection you're gonna do for the rear brake and drums. So what we're looking for is, if you look at this section here is the actual brake pad. This section here is the metal on the brake shoe. This is what holds the pad in place, and this is the brake drum. So what we're looking at the thickness of the brake pad. What we're gonna do, we're gonna take the measurement here at the thickest point, or the widest point. You want to make sure that's more than a 1/4 inch thick. All right, so now we're gonna reinstall the axle. I'm gonna clean all this old silicone up off this axle before I install it.
Today we're doing a rear leaf spring assembly. This is on a 2007 Freightliner Columbia, so let's get started. Alright, so how do you know that the bushings are bad? Well, there's 3 different ways. In the case of mine, all you gotta do is give it a little bit of a visual inspection, and you can see, you look under there,
damn,
there's not much left of that bushing, and there's a big gap right there. That one's obviously bad. Now the front one, it's not quite as bad. If you're unsure, you can always kind of lift up the truck and you can see if there's going to be like any slack whenever you lift the truck up. And usually if the bushings are bad, over time it'll wear out the tires a little unevenly. Now before I get into this, most people are probably going to wonder why I'm doing the whole leaf spring assembly. Why not just do the bushings? Well, I called some shops. I was quoted between $1,200 all the way to $4,000 just for the labor to have the bushing pressed in, or pressed out and pressed in. Then you add on top of that the cost of parts, surprises, disposal fees, taxes, and the lowest estimate I received with parts and all that other nonsense basically came to the same price as just doing all 4 of these. And I also got new U-bolts because I'm not going to reuse the old ones. This is an 18-year-old truck. And I also got new bolts for where the bushings are held in. First thing I need to do is clean this up and paint it. Now I bought this little plastic scraper a while back at O'Reilly's. Let's see how it works. Not bad. Pretty good. Now I gotta get that stickiness off of there. We're gonna try this Goo Gone. Gotta kind of let it sit. Alright, it's been a few minutes. Let's see if this stuff actually works. Well, I'll be. Just came right off of there. Alright boys, we're ready to lift these up. Hopefully this works. We'll see. Well, I guess it worked. Kind of surprised. Right now is a good time to say, don't do anything I do in this video. Absolutely nothing. Okay, so now we're just going to wipe this thing down with acetone. Ooh, stuff smells good. Look at that. Okay, we're finished cleaning them all up. Now we're just going to spray paint it, and we're going to use some of this Rust-Oleum high heat. Put about 3 coats on it, 3 light coats. Now let's go ahead and do the U-bolts, and we want to make sure we tape over the threads, because you don't want to have painted threads when you're trying to tighten up the bolt. It's going to get all boogered up in there. Once we have them on there, then you can go back and you can paint the threads. Time to clean these up. Alright, we got 3 coats on this. We went ahead and bought another can of this gloss black high heat paint. I didn't like that flat black finish. And then here's my U-bolts. And then these other bolts, I'll get them once they're installed on the truck. We're going to go ahead and do this one first, and I'm going to go ahead and chalk the rear and the front of this. I already got it chalked. So now that the truck has rolled forward a little bit, we need to go ahead and push the rear blocks on in, fill that void. Now these leaf springs, they go underneath the axle on this truck. So the next thing I want to do is let all the air out from the air suspension. That way the axle will sit flush on the frame. Okay, so you can see it's sitting straight on the frame back there. And we want to also do one more thing. I want to go ahead and drain all the air out of the system. Well, boys, I'm going to try to save these U-bolts. Of course, I'm not reusing them. Just to get this impact wrench under there, got to jack up the axle. Damn it. Okay, well that took way too long. Let's see if this works. I highly doubt it. We never know though. And this is 1 5/16. That's a big no. All right, so to get those U-bolts cut, we're going to use a grinder, and we got to move that shock absorber out of the way. It'd be tempting to use a sawzall, but as soon as you cut one side of the U-joint, the other side, it's going to move around while you're trying to cut it with the sawzall, and we all know that is a pain in the ass. And with a grinder, you don't have to worry about that. Let's go ahead and pull the shock out. And I'm going to make sure I don't do both of these at the same time. I'm doing them one at a time, because if I do them both at the same time, the axle will just, who knows where it'll go. It won't be held in place. You do one at a time, you got the leaf spring over there on the other side to keep it from rotating and moving back and forth. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut it. Of course, want to make sure you got hearing protection and something to cover your face. Okay, now let's get the back side. So this piece is kind of what was causing the grinder to get kind of hung up. It was just pulling down on it, which was kind of causing a wedge and squeezing the blade to where it just didn't want to turn. It was getting too hot. Now we gotta get these studs out of there. They're kind of seized up inside of it. Well, here's where a Dremel actually comes in handy. I don't use them very often, but you know, when I do, it's like, what else is there available? That's pretty good. Now I gotta do the other the other 3. These actually work a lot better as far as cleaning inside these holes, and you can kind of reach your finger in there as you're doing it, and you can feel the smoothness. And I think I got these all pretty cleaned out. Oops. Ooh, that's hot. Now, if I would have known Lowe's had these, I would have bought these, because this is a much better fit for those holes, and I'm sure a lot more durable, and this piece, it just feels like it holds a lot better. As far as cleaning it off, we'll just use this impact gun with a wire wheel. That's pretty good. Let's go ahead and clean it up with some acetone. Well, unfortunately, I have to lift the frame off of the axle because the axle is sitting on the top of where the U-bolt was. Okay, I think, yep, that's enough to take them out. There's 1, there's 2. Okay, we got 2 more bolts to get off, and this is with the 1 1/8. This side's going to be fairly easy, but the other side, I don't know. Well, I gotta loosen this thing up. Go this way. Go this way. Sucker is in there. Alright, the other one, different story. Can't get my impact wrench in there. All I can do is use this. Loosened up. It's pretty loose. Let's use my ratchet. Hot potato. Now once again we got to try to loosen the bolt. Well, this one won't fit over that. Crap. That one won't budge. Ah, damn it. Looks like it has a lot of tension on it. Maybe if we lower it back down, it'll take some of that tension off. Let's hope. Well, I wish I would have got it on video, but I hit the leaf springs with the hammer and it just fell to the ground. I don't know if that's going to loosen up any of the tension on that bolt, though. I doubt it. Well, I managed to get the leaf springs off. I just kind of picked it up on the back and kind of just lifted it up and down and pushed at the same time. But that damn bolt's still stuck in there. I got it to turn a while ago, but hardly at all. It's still pretty good, pretty stuck in there. Oh, you stupid bolt. Pain in the ass. Seems like it freed up. Well, we finally got that stupid bolt out. Now it's time to install this thing. Oh my gosh, these things are heavy. Okay. Come on, roll. This thing's heavy as hell. I don't know how to get it up here. I might need a jack. Yep. Piece of shit. To give you all a little better view. The view sucked a while ago. There's no room under here. Oh yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and put some anti-seize in that hole. Smear it all in there. I should say in both holes. Yeah. And of course you want to put anti-seize on the bolt too. Oh man. You know, with these bolts you want to alternate. You want to put one in this way, one in that way. So this one will go in like that. Well, that's smart. The jack's right in the way. Let's put our anti-seize on here first. From the Freightliner website, said either anti-seize or oil. There it goes. And whenever you put this plate on here, you can look under here just to verify. You see this arrow? It's pointing forward just to let you know you put it on there correctly. And you want to make sure this pin right here goes in that hole. And we'll do that with the jack. We'll raise this up just to verify rather than tightening it up. It's a lot easier to do it with the jack. Damn it. Not wanting to go. There it goes. Oh, my neck is going to be hurting tomorrow. Oh, damn it. I forgot the washers. So I looked up the torque recommendations for these U-bolts, and there's 4 stages. Stage 1, hand tighten. Stage 2, 60 foot-pounds. Stage 3 is 200 foot-pounds. Stage 4 is 420 to 500 foot-pounds. And you want to make sure when you do it, you crisscross. So you start here, you'll go over here, and then you'll go back here, and then you'll go back across over here. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a torque wrench that will go up to 500 foot-pounds, but I do have this, which has multiple settings. So we'll start on number 1. Now let's go up to setting number 2. Alright, now let's go up to stage number 3. And remember, this thing full strength tightens to about 475 foot-pounds, so it's about perfect. Well, I wanted to show you guys that not only did I tighten them up with my air wrench, I also tightened them up with this. And if you don't know, you can figure out your torque by going to a torque calculator. I've used this to put on my lug nuts. So you put in there the length that you're using. In my case, to right here, it's 30 inches. You put in the force, which is pounds. It's hard to estimate that for me, but we'll say 200 pounds. That's what I weigh. I know I can bench about 180, so we'll just go with 200. And you plug those numbers in and it'll show you what your torque is. And in my case, 200 pound force applied at 30 inches is 500 pound feet. It's pretty tight. I think that one's pretty good. Now you probably noticed earlier when I took out the supposed to be the nut for the airbag, the whole stud came out. This is supposed to stay in there. The nut's supposed to be the thing that comes off of there. So what we're gonna do, just put some red thread locker on there. Okay. Well, I guess that's it, guys. This job sucked. I'm going to do the other one tomorrow, and then the other two up on the middle axle. I don't know, some other weekend whenever I'm healed up and not sore anymore. And I'm definitely going to re-torque those U-bolts whenever I drive, you know, 500 miles, maybe 1,000 miles. And then after maybe another 10,000 miles, y'all be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. Leave me a comment. We will see you on the next one, guys.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law.
Okay guys, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the wheels off. You wanna make sure the truck is secure. You got chocks on it, it's on jack stands. So we got all that done already. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get these wheels off.
Welcome to Fab, man. Let's go. Let's go. Go! Go! This forever. Don't surrender. Don't surrender. Yeah.
Okay, so I have the wheels off. The next thing we're gonna do is remove the brake drum. For this particular brake, as you can see, it's just a 30 brake chamber. If you want to check out my how to do brakes on an 18-wheeler video, they had a 30-30 brake chamber, which is a larger brake chamber. Those particular brake chambers, you will have to release the brakes in the cab before backing the brakes off. But since this is just a 30 brake chamber, this is only for whenever you actually push the brakes. So since it's not a parking brake, we don't have to release the brakes in the truck. I'm going to go ahead and back the brakes off so I can get this drum off.
Welcome to Fab, man.
So I'm gonna release the brakes here. So I got the tool here. What you wanna do is back this brake off all the way. You're gonna be able to see the drum and the brake shoe. The gap is just gonna get larger. You wanna get it backed up enough so you can get that drum off. So right there is good. So I got that there. Let's go ahead and get this drum off so we can get this hub off, okay? So I'm gonna knock the drum loose. Get the drum off, drop it right there. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these bolts off so I can get this axle out, and then I'll be able to get these nuts off so that I can pull this hub assembly off here. Now this wheel seal is actually not leaking. I'm just doing this video for demonstration purposes, okay? So I'm gonna put some WD-40 here so I can work these loose. Most of these are gonna be a 15/16 deep socket. You can get it off with an impact. So let me get that ready so I can get those knocked out. Okay, so we're gonna get the impact, 1/2 inch impact. Now, I thought it was a 15/16, but this is actually 1 1/8. So let's get these off.
Welcome to forever, man. Let's go. Come on.
There's gonna be a washer as well here. Get those off.
No surrender. Yeah. You know that this right here forever. And there will be no surrender.
Now that we got those off, I'm gonna work on getting this axle out. Okay, so I got a drop pan here to catch the oil. I'm gonna go ahead and remove these washers here so I can get this axle off. Now there's different types of axles. If you have one with wedges, you're gonna have to strike it here in the center. Since this one doesn't have wedges, I'm just gonna strike it here around the edges. It does have silicone, so it should come off pretty easy. There it goes. So you go ahead and get this axle pulled out. You want to be careful because at the end of the axle, you got teeth on here. These teeth, if you drop this axle and damage these teeth, you won't be able to get it stuck back in the differential. So put this in a safe place so it doesn't fall over. Usually I lay it up against the truck here. Let me grab a towel. You can use a towel or any rag to wrap around the gear area just to keep it secured. Make sure it's not going to fall over. Here is leaning up against the truck, so it's not going to fall over. The next item we're going to be doing now is we're going to be removing this inner nut or this outer nut so that we can get this spindle off. Now, if you can look at this type of nut, the outer nut's always going to have some kind of locking device. There's different models on these locking, but this is very important to know what type of locking nut you're dealing with because, for example, this locking nut has locking tabs on the side. So when you actually install the socket, it's going to pinch these locking tabs together so that you can actually rotate this out. So if you're not using the right socket size, you're going to break this. You can break these locks here. And then when you go back on with it, you can have issues later on down the road because you're not going to be able to have this nut staying on there secure. Tighten these down to specs and making sure they don't back out is very important. I see a lot of failures where this lock nut is not working correctly or not installed correctly, and over time what happens is this nut starts to back out and then you have all this wheel play, and it's very dangerous because if this hub comes off the spindle, it's going to take all the tires with it. It's going to take these two tires that are bolted up to it. So you can imagine the damage that can cause. It's not only going to tear up the spindle, but it can go, it can actually detach from the truck and be very, very hazardous on the road. So I'm going to grab the right socket for this so that I can pinch these tabs in, and then I'm going to take this lock nut out. When you take this lock nut out, you're going to have an outer bearing and an inner bearing. When you pull these bearings out, you want to wrap them up with a towel, keep them secure from dirt, because if they're good and you want to reuse them, you want to make sure there's not a lot of dirt. You don't collect a lot of dirt onto the bearing, and then when you reinstall it, you're going to cause some damage. So let me get the socket so I can get this nut off, and then we'll be able to get these bearings out. I'll pull the hub off, and we'll get that seal off. So let's get on to that next. Okay, so I have the socket. Now, as I mentioned, these locking tabs here, you're going to be able to tell if this is the right size because it's going to push against those locking tabs. And I'll show you how these locking tabs work once I get it off here. Looks like it's spinning already pretty easily. All right, so I got the lock nut off. I want to show you how this works. So there's a key on this. There's a keyway here on this particular nut, and this keyway is going to go into this axle right here. So as you can see on the side of this
there's gonna be notches. So as I mentioned, when I pull this off, these lock tabs go into those notches, and with this keyway, it's gonna keep this nut from backing out. Now there's different types of lock nuts, as I mentioned, so make sure to examine what type of lock nut you're dealing with, and make sure that you're gonna reinstall it correctly and that there's no damage, because this is a major component here. This is what keeps everything together. So now that I have this off, we're gonna get this outer bearing off. I'm gonna have a towel ready, and I'm just gonna shake this, and you can see how that popped right out. So I'm gonna move it a little bit more, try to get this bearing out of there. So this is the outer bearing. When you get the outer bearing out, you wanna go ahead and inspect it. You wanna look for any pitting, any scars. As you can see, this bearing is pretty clean, so we're gonna reuse this bearing. And as I mentioned, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up with a towel so that it doesn't get any contaminants on it, dirt, anything like that. Keep that there. As I mentioned, if you're going to be really using those, make sure to cover them up. So now the inner bearing is going to be on the inside of the wheel seal, so that one's not going to fall out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this off so I can get this wheel seal removed. So what I'm going to do is just shake this off until it comes off. So as you can see, it come off pretty easy. All right, so we got that off there. Now another item I didn't mention here, this is a spacer. These are newer designs. So basically what this is you can torque this down as tight as you need to without having to worry about binding up the bearings. So this is a newer style spacer here. So that's installed there. The reason it was kind of tough to come off is sometimes this inner bearing where it rides right here, it can get cocked to the side, or it can get moved, or when you're trying to pull it off, it can come off sideways. So it can be a little bit of a pain to get it off. So you kind of want to work it your way, jiggle it around, make sure that bearing is in an even position so it can come right off of there. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set it up so I can get this wheel seal off here, and then we'll get that wheel seal replaced. So let's move on to that. So even though I got a drop pan here, I'm gonna get another drop pan, and I'm gonna put my drum in there. And this is so I don't get any oil on the ground. So I'm gonna use my drum to secure my hub, just like that. Okay, this just makes it a little bit easier to work with. It secures the hub so that I can get that wheel seal out. Now there's gonna be different tools that you can buy to get these seals out. I have a seal remover, but usually I use an adjustable pry bar and just see if I can get it out with that. If I don't, then I'll work it out. So what you want to do is just get on that lip, and you want to peel this seal out. You know how I got up under this lip? I'm gonna peel this seal right out of there like that. Now I got that seal just out of there just like that. And that's why I use the drum, so I can get more leverage to get that seal out. If you don't have this hub secured, you can be fighting with this to get this wheel seal out. So I got that out. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and pull this bearing out. This is the inner bearing. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna do an inspection on it. Everything looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this bearing up. Make sure it doesn't get contaminated with any dirt. We're gonna reuse these bearings. So got it wrapped up here. I'll go ahead and put it over here with my other bearing. So now that we got the wheel seal off, the bearings look good. We're not having to replace any races. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna clean where the wheel seal actually seals. I'm gonna clean it with some light sandpaper, get some brake cleaner, clean it off. Also, I'm gonna get this tone wheel cleaned off as well, just so that my ABS can read correctly. So let me get the sandpaper and some brake cleaner so we can get this cleaned up. I'm gonna grab the new seal and we'll get it installed. All right, as I mentioned, we're gonna clean up now. I'm gonna go ahead and get as much off here. You wanna get all the sealing, existing sealing off there. So I'm gonna get as much as I can off with a rag, and then I'm gonna knock the rest off with this grinder. I know I said sandpaper. This is like sandpaper. It's a little bit faster. So what I'm gonna do is just clean up the sealing surfaces here. Make sure you don't take off any metal. You just want to take off old sealant, any rust. All right, now that I got that cleaned off, I'm gonna clean all this off here. Let me get the brake cleaner. I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of it cleaned up with brake cleaner, and then we can install the seal. All right, so I'll just kind of blow it off a little bit to get excess dirt off. We're gonna clean it up still with brake cleaner. You can see how dirty it still is, so make sure to use brake cleaner to clean up just the sealing surfaces here. So once you get the sealing surfaces all cleaned up, we're gonna go ahead and install. Now, one thing you don't wanna forget is this inner bearing. I see this a lot. I've seen it done a couple of times where they put the seal on and they don't put this bearing back in here. So make sure you set your bearing back in there before installing the seal, because you won't be able to put that bearing in there once that seal is installed. Now, there's gonna be multiple different tools that you can buy to install these seals. Usually we use this plate here. It's actually a Stemco plate, but we don't have the bar on it, so we just use the actual plate. Now I'm gonna set the seal on here, set it in place, and then when you install these seals, you want to strike it so that it's going in evenly. As you can see, this lower end's already down over here, so I'm gonna try to put this seal as even as possible here. Now I can see, now I move my lower end to this side, so what I'm gonna do, since my lower end's on this side, I'm gonna start tapping the high end side so that I can drive this seal in evenly. So here we go. Once I got this side in, kind of the same, I'm working my way around it. You can see I got this side in here. Everything looks pretty level. Then I can go ahead and start driving it in even further. You want to drive this evenly until it stops. So you can hear the difference there. Once I hit actual bottomed out, you can hear the difference in the hammer. So you don't want to go any further than that. You can damage the seal. So the seal's installed, the bearing's in there. We want to make sure the seal's rotating, so everything looks good. So now we're ready to put this hub back on, put the bearings back on, the spacer back on, torque everything down, and we'll be good to go. So let's move on to that next. Okay, so we're gonna go back in with the hub. What I'm gonna do is clean off this sealing surface here. This is the area where the seal actually seals on the spindle. So we're gonna clean this off here, make sure there's nothing on there. If this seal was leaking and you had drenched brake pads, what I mean by drenched is brake pads that are soaked with oil, drums that are soaked with oil, it's gonna be best just to replace those components. These pads, what they'll end up doing is they'll soak up that oil. So even if you try to clean these brake pads off with brake cleaner, it's still not gonna be a good brake. With the heat and everything, what happens is the face of the brake pad will seal and it'll harden. So you won't get actually any braking done. So I got this cleaned up. Let's go ahead and put this hub back on so we can get everything back installed. So I'm gonna pull the hub off the brake drum. I'm gonna get it ready. You wanna have some gear oil ready. So I got gear oil over here ready. I'm gonna go ahead and put this hub back on here. All right, so the hub's on there. You're not gonna drive that seal all the way in. First thing you wanna do, now this is not Lucas, this is actually an old bottle of Lucas, but I have gear oil in here. So we're gonna fill up the hub. We're gonna fill this hub up so it has enough oil. So once it's filled up, you'll see it start running out a little bit. So once it's running out, then we can go ahead and start putting our bearings and all our hardware together. You know, don't forget the spacer. The spacer goes first. And then we go with the bearing in here. All right, now you got the bearing on there. Now we got our lock nut. Remember, we have to put the socket on this so it disengages. Line up your key with the keyway on the spindle. Now, as you remember, I was able to get this spinning quite a few times without it getting binded. So you want to have that same installation, you know, make sure it's not binding right away. Now, the reason why I put oil in there before installing everything is it's dry. Of course, we had the hub off, we had it over there on the brake drum, and all the oil drains out the hub. The hub has an area where oil sits in here. Now, if you don't fill it and you let the customer leave or the truck goes down the road, it's gonna take time for that oil to make its way from the differential over here to your hubs. So in that time, this bearing could get hot. You can cause scarring, you can cause damage to the bearing. So this is why you always want to put oil in the hub when you actually during installation, so you don't run these bearings dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive this in, and then I'm going to get the torque wrench and then I'm going to torque it down. So let's go ahead and tighten this down. So this seal is going to be sitting all the way. So I'm going to tighten this down all the way, and you're going to see that hub working its way back over here. You can see the hub working its way back. You see right here where the hub is just working slowly going in there. Go ahead and rotate the hub so you don't feel any binding. Rotate it. Make sure you have, you know, it's not going to be super free. It's just a small tension. Since it has that spacer in there, as I mentioned, we're going to torque this to specs on the outside. But right now, I'm just going to make sure it's set all the way and that nothing's binding. So I got that as tight as I can get it. I'm going to go ahead and grab the torque wrench and get that torque down. So let me go ahead and get that done. All right, so I got the torque wrench. As I mentioned, with this particular spacer, we're going to be able to torque this down pretty tight. So this is about 300 foot-pounds of torque that we're going to put on this. And with that spacer, it's not going to allow that bearing to bind up. So let me go ahead and tighten this down, and then we can finish assembly here. All right, that's 300 there. So once you pull that socket off, let's go ahead and inspect to make sure that those spacers or those locks came into a good spot. Okay, so as you can see here, it's probably going to be tough to see here, but this it's not locked in there. Now, even with any other spacer or any other lock nut, any type of locking device, you may have to go tighter. Most of the time, if you have a spacer in place, you can go tighter instead of going looser. You want to go ahead and rotate it. It's not binded, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and see if I can rotate this just a little bit more so that I can get that locking tab into that hole like it's supposed to. So let's go ahead and do that next. Okay, so as you can see here, the locking tab is in place. Top, bottom looks like it still needs a little bit of movement there. Okay, so I finally got these lined up here. You can see the top one here is lined up. Also the bottom one, you can see it's sticking out there. So that's what you want to see. You want to make sure these nuts are locked in. So now we're going to clean the axle back up and put some silicone on it and then reinstall it, and we'll be ready to get back with the drum and the tires. All right, so now we're going to reinstall the axle. I'm going to clean all this old silicone up off this axle before I install it. All right, we're just gonna go back on, just like we came off, with all these nuts, washers installed. All right, you're just gonna tighten these down in the star pattern. All right, only thing that's left now is putting the drum back on and putting the wheels back on.
ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵਧੀਆ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਫਿੱਟ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਦੇਖੋ ਆਹ ਥੱਲੇ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਜੈਕ ਲਾਈਨ ਲਾਇਆ ਸਿਰਫ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਆਹ ਖੋਲਣੀ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਆਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦੂਜੇ ਬੈਲੂਨ ਨੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਤਾਹਾਂ ਚੱਕ ਦੇਣਾ ਦੇਖੋ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਬਹੁਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਚੱਕਣੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਫਟ ਵੀ ਜਾਣੇ ਆ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹਵਾ ਭਰਤੀ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਆ ਬਸ ਉਨੀ ਹੀ ਚੱਕੋ ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਥੱਲੇ ਕਰ ਦਿਓ ਤੇ ਇਹਨੇ ਫਿੱਟ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਟ ਨੇ ਦੇਖੋ ਇਹ ਮੇਰਾ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਚਲੋ ਜੀ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਲਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ ਕਸਣਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਕਸਾਂਗੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਦੀ ਨਾਟ ਕਰ ਦਈਏ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਤੇ ਇੱਕਦਮ ਫਿੱਟ ਬੈਠ ਗਿਆ ਹੁਣ ਥੱਲੇ ਵਾਲਾ ਨਾਟ ਕੱਸ ਦੇਣਾ ਬਸ ਉੱਪਰ ਵਾਲਾ ਕੱਸ ਦੇਣਾ ਬੈਠ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਬਸ ਬਾਕੀ ਜੈਕ ਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਚੱਕਣ ਖਾਤਰ ਥੱਲੇ ਪਰ ਇਹ ਮੈਂ ਨਵਾਂ ਇਨਵੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਿਆ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਸਖਾਲਾ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਵਾਲਾ ਕੱਢਣਾ ਵੀ ਆਸਾਨ ਆ ਤੇ ਨਵਾਂ ਲਾਉਣਾ ਵੀ ਆਸਾਨ ਆ
Measurements real quick on the slack adjuster so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so you put it in the back of here, right? Back here, and you measure it here. So it's at 9, right? It's at 9. That's the brakes pushed out. Okay, I'm gonna have somebody push them in real quick. Okay, hold it. Push it in! Now it's at 7. 7. So it's at 9, right? No more than 2 inches. If it goes over 2 inches, it's no good. I want to show you guys that, man. Remember, no more than 2 inches. Love you guys.
My pitman arm, drag link, upper and lower steering arm, my tie rod end, and my tie rod are all properly mounted and secured with castle nut and cotter pins. They are not cracked, bent, or broken, and there is no excessive play. My leaf spring is properly mounted and secured on either end with leaf spring hangers. They are not cracked, bent, or broken. They are not scissoring, and there is no missing leaves. My U-bolts are properly mounted and secured. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no shiny threads or missing hardware, which would indicate that the nuts are loose on the bottom.